Welcome back everybody, Danny here for another sim racing video, and today I'm going to talk to you about at least what my personal idea on what the deciding factors are whether or not a racing game is a full simulation or what we like to call and have dubbed a Simcade. Now I know that this is definitely going to be on your personal idea, your personal opinion of what makes or breaks a game as a simulation or an arcade. I don't think that there is any solid set of rules on what makes a simulation and what makes a Simcade, because the ideals can range very widely, and I think that is why there is so much discussion and so much argument on whether or not a particular game is a simulation or it is not. Now, this is spurred from some of the comments that I saw in my last couple of videos for Project Cars 2. This video is not directly about Project Cars 2. It's not about any sim in specific, but it is my general idea of how I make my determination on whether or not a racing game is a sim or not. Now, I have not hid it in any way. I've been completely upfront with you guys in stating that, in my opinion, Project Cars 2 is definitely a Simcade and not a simulation. But I have also stated that the game is really good, and so just because I don't think it's a full simulation doesn't take away from the game in any way, shape, or form. I want to get that out there because Project Cars 2 is a great game. But without further ado, let me go ahead and tell you, at least in my opinion, the three things that help me decide whether a game is a Simcade or whether it is a simulation. So the very first thing that I always look at is what controller or what type of controller did the developers use to initially design the game. So let's look at Project Cars 2. The developers of Project Cars 2 have been completely upfront and completely honest that they have admitted to the fact that they know that the majority of the money that they will make on the game will be based on consumers playing on consoles, and the majority of those consumers will be playing with a controller. So what they have done is they have designed the game first with a controller, and then they implement the wheel usage afterwards. So for me, a game that was designed on a controller first has physics based on a handheld Xbox One controller or PlayStation controller, and then the wheel was implemented later. There's no possible way that that game can be a full-on simulation, no matter how good it comes out, because the physics were not completely based on a wheel and pedals. They were based on a controller. So that's the first thing that I look at, and that's the main reason why I personally think that Project Cars 2 is a Simcade, because the primary use of input device is a controller, and you can go into the menus and you can see that because the default settings have a lot of dead zones set. Dead zones are not something needed if you're using a wheel, but they are there from the get-go when you turn on and start playing the game, because they're designed to help out and be assistance for the controller users. So that's the very first thing that I look at anyways. The second thing that I look at is the one that most people look at. It's how forgiving or how relaxed are the physics. And in Project Cars 2, the physics are definitely more relaxed. They're definitely a little bit easier than something like iRacing or Assetto Corsa. Now, that does not mean that they are bad physics. They're still really good physics, and it's a lot of fun to drive the majority of the cars in the game. Some of them are not that great, I'm finding, the more I play it. But the majority of the cars, the physics are really good. They're just generally a little bit easier. Some examples are, if you go off-road in Project Cars, you can just cream through the grass. You can just slam right through the grass, cut a corner completely, and it doesn't slow you down, it doesn't spin you around, it doesn't affect the car at all. Whereas in iRacing and games like that, you're going to get a more realistic effect where if you either on purpose or accidentally go off the road, you're going to have some kind of effect from being on that other surface that's going to affect your lap times. You're going to feel that. You're going to have to correct it, things like that. And Project Cars really doesn't have that. So, you know, it's just more forgiving, a little more relaxed, and for me, that makes it a Simcade as well. And then the last thing that most people never look at, but I always take a look at, is how well can you play the game with the chase camera And is there even a chase camera available? So, in a full simulation, in my opinion, you must be driving in cockpit view. Now, your field of view preference is completely up to you, but you must be driving in the cockpit view. Now, real simulation titles, the game is and the physics are derived from sitting in the cockpit view. That's where the car and that's where the game works the best. iRacing is a prime example. They don't even have an option for you to drive the car in anything but cockpit view. You can view a chase camera in the replay, but you can't drive the race in anything but cockpit view. Assetto Corsa, you can drive a car in a chase cam, but it is extremely awkward, and the way the car looks when you're using the chase cam, you can just tell that the chase camera was an afterthought because the game was designed to be played in the cockpit view. That's the exact same thing with the race room racing experience. It's really awkward to attempt to play the game from the chase camera. Now, if you look at games like Forza Motorsports, all of them, 6, 7, 5, so on and so forth, all the Gran Turismo series, and Project Cars as well. Project Cars falls into this category. If you look at those games, you can easily play them from the chase camera, and it makes sense and it looks really good, and that is because they know the majority of people using those games, just like with the controllers, they're going to be driving the cars from the chase camera and not necessarily from the interior camera. And since they know the majority of players are going to be using the chase camera, they designed the physics and the lighting and the shadowing and everything built into the game during the racing. They designed that to work the best in the chase camera and not necessarily in the interior camera or the cockpit camera is what I like to call it. So that's the third thing. You know, that's just three of the quite a few things I look at, but that's the main three things. And after taking a good look at Project Cars and then basing them on these values or these ideas that I think fit a sim or a Simcade, that's why I made my decision that Project Cars 2 is definitely a Simcade. Now I want to add again, just like I've done every video so far, it's still a really solid racing game with just days and days and days and months worth of fun, just ever-ending fun, because there's so much you can do and so much content. Do I think that it is much? It falls in the simulation category with iRacing, Assetto Corsa, and Race Room and Automobilista? No, I do not. Do we all have to have the same opinion? No, we do not. Does it mean that I'm right and you are wrong? No, it does not. Again, I just want to emphasize that. Everybody has their own idea and opinion of what a simulation is. There's not any set of rules that really makes or breaks something, but these again are the three that I normally look at to make my decision. So I hope that clears it up for the comments that I was getting on my last couple of videos. But if you enjoyed this video, click that like button, guys, and if you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. I'm interested to hear in everybody's opinions because I think everybody should have one and everybody should be heard. Anyways, guys, I will see you in the next